What's up, everyone? It's Karthik with MoneyVest. Welcome on board for our market open live stream. I hope you all are doing great here on this fine Thursday morning as the markets are recovering a little bit here. Actually, Wednesday morning here as the markets are also recovering a little bit after yesterday's sell-off. So pre-market, we are essentially flat right now with S&P 500 up over 12 basis points. We've got QQQs that is also slightly higher, up over 8 basis points. We got Nvidia pushing up over 62 basis points, and we got Tesla here up over 79 basis points, and SoFi here up over 1.6% at the moment, with Palantir essentially up over 0.5% as well. So if my audio and video is good, if there are no technical issues, just give me a thumbs up and we should be all set and ready to go here for this morning live stream. And Wednesday, yes, Wednesday, not Thursday, Dave. Got a little confused there. So this is what the options portfolio looks like. I actually want to re-record the update from last weekend because there was some audio issues, but I am planning on some puts. So that's what we're gonna discuss in today's market open live stream. Is we're gonna evaluate some opportunities here. I've got my options chain open, and I am looking at stocks like Iron because it is selling off a little bit pre-market, so it is down over 3%. It did give us a little bit of an opportunity yesterday, traded down to $53, $54, and of course recovered, really quickly. So I'm looking at this Friday's expirations. We'll see where these premiums end up at market open. And I'm going to try to calculate some return on collateral for the next couple of days for Friday's expiration, and then of course see if there is any opportunity for those. Other stocks are going to be straight off of my watch list here, which is the hot retail momentum watch list. And in terms of what is moving pre-market, ASTS on a deal with Verizon, I believe, is pushing higher. So if you come over to this, you'll notice that AST Space Mobile signs a deal with Verizon to provide cellular service from space. AST shares obviously surging a little bit over 15% right now. TMQ continues to rally higher. Pre-market trading back up to over $7, up over 10% right now. We got Planet Labs up over 7%. We've got Rocket Labs up almost 6%. CoreWeave is up over 2.2%. BMNR is back over $61, up over 2%. We got Roblox pushing up over 2.2%. We got BITX also recovering a little bit after the brutal sell-off from yesterday, down over 4%. It's another 1.5% rally. And I'm also considering BITX puts, but again, it's a little bit too far away from where I would like to dollar cost average into it, as ideally, I would be looking at mid to low 50s, but right now it's kind of in this upper range of this resistance where it's getting rejected right now at around $61 to $65 for BITX. So again, support level is going to be all the way down as low as $50 to $51, kind of like in the low to mid 50s for BITX. So other stocks, again, considering some potential puts on Oscar as well, sold off perfectly from its resistance from yesterday. So this right here is a clear area of resistance, not a triple, but a quadruple top for Oscar. And that's why it is trading at pretty overbought, overextended levels in and around those resistance levels for Oscar. And again, going to be looking at few other names like Joby and Archer Aviation, just from a trading perspective, not from a long-term perspective, because none of these companies, Archer or Joby, they don't have any kind of revenue or no profitability for these businesses as well. So hope you all are doing great, and I'm happy to go over a lot of questions, any stocks, any options, anything specifically. Again, we're gonna take a look at Megalift, Vault. You said puts as in CSPs for Oscar, so we'll wait for us to see some more potential downside. I'm really just following this channel right here, which is the higher lows. And so if it does rotate back down to, let's say, sub 20, and that's when I'm going to be looking at selling some puts on Oscar. But right now, just kind of holding what I have. And that's pretty much it, because we're right now coming up to that resistance again for Oscar. And Yesterday, it was up like 8% pre-market. That, of course, gave back on almost all the gains as there was a lot of selling pressure intraday, and for the right reasons, considering that it is overbought and the fact that it's actually coming up to that resistance level at $23 to $24 for Oscar. So if there's any kind of potential downside here, then I'd be looking at selling puts in the low 20s again. So let's see. Tazel, looks like you're getting too excited. Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of cash sitting in the options portfolio that I want to utilize. So if there are any opportunities, then I would be very, very excited to take advantage of those. BMNR is pushing back up here. Got rejected a little bit at $63, $64. So we'll see if it actually gets bought up here back over $61, $62. Support levels are going to stay put at $52 to as much as $57. And of course, it got tagged perfectly at 47 before pushing right back up. So that's that. Yeah, Rocket Labs gave me a nice swing trade, but I clearly sold too early is what David says. Let's take a quick look at RKLB. And this one also has been on insane momentum, pushing higher for like 4 to 5 straight days here. From its lows of 47, it is now pushing up over 39, almost 40%, back up to over $65 on the weekly time frame. 2 back-to-back incredibly strong weeks here, and of course, not to mention since April, the stock's up like 340%. So absolutely insane momentum coming in for a lot of stocks, right? Not just this. Even if you look at something like Kinross Gold Corporation from March 2024, this thing is up over 458%. If you look at it since December, it's up over 191%. Year to date, this company is up over 169% as well. Oklo in the same boat as so many other companies. Rigetti Computing is another one. RGTI up from $6 from back in March 2025 to now trading at well over $44. It's over 562%. I mean, that's the whole idea behind this hot watch list, is that so many of them are trading on some insane momentum and have gone up like 4, 5, 6, 7, 800, 900% in the last several months here. And again, CCJ from its April lows from back in $35, $36 is up over $86, $87 as well. So insane momentum. This market is crazy. Absolutely crazy. Sell to open puts. Yes, that's what we do, is we mostly sell puts and sell calls, essentially to open those contracts, and we collect the premium. And I'm more open to rolling calls than I am to rolling puts. When I'm selling puts, I'm completely fine with getting assigned because that's the whole idea, is that I really want to own those shares at that price so that I can then start selling calls and of course take advantage of that momentum. But when it comes to selling calls, then I'm more open to rolling my options up and out so I can continue to capitalize on that appreciation as the stock is moving higher. So I missed the beginning. Are you talking about buying puts or selling puts? Selling puts is what I'm referring to there. Good morning, Caddy. What are your thoughts on QBTS? It's been running up for a whole month. What's not been running up for a whole month, Mario? I feel like everything's been running up for a whole month, for a whole few months. Everything that you look at right now, everything that I pull up is seeing insane momentum. And this stock is up from September 2024, really. It's up 4,500%. So this is absolutely insane. And it's interesting that it's had times where it was consolidating sideways before finally breaking out to new highs. So this was another time when it was like really consolidating sideways here and then finally broke out. So right now, of course, incredibly overbought. You know, on the other side, the MACD, the L3 Banker Oscillator, like 6 back-to-back green weeks here. So I'd be incredibly careful with the stock at the moment, as it is getting incredibly overbought. And I would put down a support down to as much as $29 to as much as $23.95, closer to $24 for QBTS. I'm going to move the chat a little bit over here so it's easier. Frothy markets. Absolutely right. I think it's an incredibly frothy market. It is a market that is trading on a lot of greed, a lot of euphoria, a lot of these circular deals, as they call it, where companies are taking stakes in other companies and then they're also customers and investors in those companies, right? Which is kind of crazy that you've got NVIDIA taking stakes in OpenAI, where NVIDIA is also supplying chips to OpenAI. So essentially, they are an investor in a company who is also their customer. Same thing as Advanced Micro Devices, right? OpenAI is going to be buying chips from AMD, and at the same time, AMD is going to be giving shares to OpenAI, right, in return. So it's just like a infinite money glitch. It's like a loop that's just running between all these companies, and the memes just cannot stop. The memes are hilarious. There's so many memes about this very issue in the market, and that's how you sort of create value, but at the same time, it can be a little bit deceiving as well. And so that's why we have to be extremely careful, cautious on the realization of all of this revenue and cash flows that's essentially pledged for many, many years into the future. And for those reasons, again, I'm just like a little bit more skeptical. We just learned that NVIDIA is going to be taking a stake in XAI. So that's another catalyst that just dropped. So if you just type NVIDIA and XAI, so NVIDIA to finance Musk's XAI chips as part of a $20 billion deal. And this was like supposed to be $10 billion. And then I think within a day, it got doubled to $20 billion. So Jensen Huang said on Wednesday that his company has already invested in Elon Musk's artificial intelligence firm XAI and confirmed reports of further financing. He said he's super excited about the deal, adding that almost everything is Elon part of. You want to be a part of it too. And he said in an interview, the number one strategy is to increase the performance of its products by very significant margins. I did watch the CNBC interview. I think Jensen Huang is one of the best leaders in the world. I think I really like the fact that he does acknowledge that when NVIDIA gives a keynote, it does lift all boats, meaning all the other companies actually stock prices go up. But then any other company gives a keynote, NVIDIA stock goes down. So while everybody else sees NVIDIA as a competition, NVIDIA realizes that there is a possibility and most definitely an opportunity for everyone to coexist and grow together because the market is large enough. And of course, there was talks about Intel and a lot of other companies like Advanced Micro Devices and OpenAI. But the whole idea is that there is definitely a lot of potential, a lot of opportunity. And Jensen Huang obviously wants the United States to be the leader and again, essentially a place where AI is dominated and essentially the entire world is using the tech stack that is actually built by the U.S. And he, of course, hopes and stresses on the idea that China eventually will also have access to U.S. tech when it comes to artificial intelligence. So all in all, I think we are in a very interesting timeline where AI is exponentially growing. The demand is growing parabolically, and so is the supply, as a lot of suppliers are scrambling for chips and data center compute power. And as a result, I mean, a lot of these companies are just going crazy. Some will survive, most will fail, and we just have to make sure that the ones that we're investing in are the ones that are long-term, high-quality businesses, but while also being able to trade and take advantage of this market momentum that we're seeing for a lot of these stocks that are flying high. So I think that's really what it comes down to, is just making sure that we're investing in the right ones for the long term and we're trading on that momentum on the ones that are giving us insane gains. All right, so let's take a look at VBull. Yes, Bull is another one that I may consider as potentially selling puts here because it is selling off. Pre-market, it's down almost 6%. And some support levels to watch. The first one is going to be closer to this $11.85 to as much as $12 level, all the way down to as much as $10 for VBull. So we got rejected at this resistance of $15 to $16. Again, it was not a surprise. That's where we got rejected a couple times in the past. And right now we're once again coming back down to this area of support for VBull. And I would not be surprised if buyers do indeed step in intraday. There is a possibility, in my opinion, that buyers do step in and we do see some momentum coming back in. And so essentially a red day but a green candle is possible for VBull. And if you take a look at the options chain, I actually would not shy away from potentially selling an at-the-money put to take advantage of those premiums For 2 days, you're getting paid a pretty big chunk. So 44 divided by 12, you're looking at a 3.6% return for just about a couple days. That is absolutely incredible. So I would be looking at a potential at the money put for Webull. So UNH on the way up. Any thoughts on PayPal for a swing trade? PayPal and I have had a little bit of a love and hate relationship, to be honest. But overall, it's starting to move back higher. So resistance is going to be closer to $77. So this right here is going to be that level to watch. And I do believe that PayPal over the long term continues to be a very, very good company with great cash flows, great potential revenue, and just overall a good business. Of course, the stock price has underperformed for years, and we're talking since 20. What is that date? So we're looking at 2021 as pretty much the peak for PayPal, and since then it's just been trading sideways. So it's been many, many years, like 4 to 5 years now, that PayPal has just been trading sideways. So resistance is going to be closer to $76, $77 for PayPal. Tesla direction. Let's take a look at Tesla here. And Tesla slightly up pre-market, but we've got a very strong support now. It's going to be sitting right about here inside this green rectangle. So this right here is going to be that area of support to watch for Tesla. Resistance all the way up to 468, 469. And of course, this has been a slow and steady grind higher for Tesla from its lows of $408, getting back up to 435, 436. Of course, we got the brand new Model 3 and Model Y versions at around $37,000 to as much as $40,000 respectively. Which, again, is a little bit of a higher price point. I was looking at the Model Y refresh at that price point at just under $40,000. There's been a lot of revisions. There's been a lot of cosmetic changes, and it's called, quote-unquote, a naked body, where there is a lot that you can see. If you open the front, you can pretty much see the headlights. You can see the mechanics of the vehicle, because they've kind of stripped down version of these vehicles because they want to make them as affordable as possible. So, but the technology is still the same. A lot of the same driving capabilities and features are all the same, but really there's been a lot of cosmetic redesigns. No front headlight, different sort of light panel, and a lot of different cosmetic changes that they've made for these models. But overall, I think Tesla remains one of my top stocks for the long term in terms of physical AI. I think it's got a ton of potential, and as a result, I think, in my opinion, there's going to be more upside. It's just the valuation, obviously, is something that we have to ask ourselves, what's the appropriate valuation? But overall, resistance right now is going to stay put at 469 with a very strong support at 430 for Tesla. So PayPal to 130. Nothing would make me more happy if PayPal actually gets up there. So that would be great. Does Ethereum got a limit in terms of pricing? I would say no. Does that mean that BMNR does have no limit? Food for thought. So Ethereum, I think Tom Lee has a target closer to $60,000, if I'm not mistaken, over the long term, which would be wild. But I could easily see Ethereum at least getting up to over 10K. In the next 12 to maybe 18 months, given, that there's just a lot of, there's capital has been flooding a little bit more towards opportunities that are quite limited in supply, and then that don't devalue on this runaway inflation, right? So gold, for example, is something that we've been talking about for many, many years, and it's now sitting at over $4,043 per ounce. And similar to Ethereum and Bitcoin as well, I think there is going to be more upside for these three things, like gold, all four things: gold, silver, Bitcoin, and Ether. Those are the four that, because of their limited supply, are going to see more and more potential upside over the long term. And so I'm actually going very heavy on Bitcoin, on Ethereum plays, on even gold. I will continue to buy, doesn't matter the price. And I know it sounds kind of crazy, but there is potential upside, in my opinion, over the next, and again, depends very much on your time horizon, but I've been buying gold since 1500, 1600, and I would not shy away from buying it, at 3,500 or 3,800 or even at 4,000 for a little bit. And silver also. So silver has been the best performing asset in all of 2025. Since April, it is up over 74%, and you don't see that for something like silver, which is a pretty big market, right? So if you come over to real world assets, you've got gold at 27 trillion. Silver is at 2.7 trillion, which is actually very equivalent to Bitcoin, right? So Bitcoin's also around 2.7, 2.8 trillion dollars in overall market cap, 2.4 trillion right now. So silver, gold, crypto. I'm becoming more and more confident, more and more bullish on these opportunities. Where do you buy gold? I buy physical gold. Physical. Like I buy small biscuits, small bars, 10 grams, 20 grams. You can buy them. And if you're in the US, you can pretty much buy them at Costco, right? So we were literally talking about this on our Discord. I was going to make a trip to Costco when I was in Boston. So, all right. Caddy, doesn't this market remind you of 2021? I got the chills. Yeah, I mean, that's what it feels like. Given a lot of this optimism and a lot of this greed and euphoria that's just flying around. So, all right, so what we're going to be planning to do here today, guys, most likely is going to be some puts. If we get nice red on a few names that are on my watch list, of course, BITX is one of them. I'm actually also planning to replace my Ethereum position with ETHU. I do want to add a little bit of leverage. And this position does expire in about 9 days. It's a $34 call. And ETHE right now is sitting at around 36.84. So that would be great if it actually expires in the money. And I would have my 100 shares get called away at a profit because my cost basis is... What's my cost base? It's around $29, right? So $29 is my cost. I would be more than happy to sell them at 34, collect the premium, collect the profit, and then replace that with ETHU. So get a little bit more leverage going. Man, should I really be doing this? It's just, I feel like everybody is just getting sucked into more and more leverage. But I'm not going to start a position right away. I'm going to wait a little bit. It's just kind of battling between the two voices in your head. It's like, oh, the markets are good. Everything's flying high. Take on more leverage. You got this. And the other voice is just the older, more wise voice telling you to take it easy. Be a little bit more cautious. We've seen this before. Don't overexpose yourself. And but we'll see. We'll see how this market trades. Poll on how much margin everyone is using. So I'm actually on 0% margin right now. So I don't use margin. But yeah, that would be a good poll to do for everyone. How much margin are you currently using? So as a percentage of your portfolio, let's do 0 to 5%. Let's do 5 to 10%, 10 to 20%. And then, or maybe we'll add a little bit bigger, 0 to 10. And then we'll do 10 to 30, 30 to 50%, and 50%, 50 to 100%. Let's do that. Let's see how many people are actually using margin. Robinhood offers $1,000 free margin, so my margin is $999. How much margin does Robinhood really provide you guys? Like what multiple of your account balance is what Robinhood provides as margin? I have margin in Charles Schwab, but I barely use it. Like I would say, like I would use like maybe max couple $100 if ever, but that's about it. I think it's 1-to-1 at Charles Schwab as well. So yeah, Yusha says no margin. This is the worst time to use leverage. Absolutely right. And this is what really is interesting that a lot of investors miss is that when you least need to use margin, that's when most people use it. And right now is one of those times where you absolutely do not need to use margin because the markets have been so generous, and most stocks, most portfolios are probably sitting at all-time highs. There's absolutely zero need to use margin. And that's what most people do. They actually start using it right now because of the greed, because of the euphoria, that they can double and triple down, quadruple down on their positions, and of course take on more leverage. And eventually, of course, it doesn't end well. Where you can consider using a lot of margin, or you can actually consider doubling and tripling down, is when the markets are selling off, when most people are running away from not only margin, but their actual positions and their cash as well. They're actually sitting on the sidelines. That's when you not only deploy capital, but you actually become more aggressive. And of course, that's when the margin goes a long way, because you can capitalize on those positions. You can buy them at huge discounts and great deals. And that's when it makes the most sense. It's the highest value that you get. Let the voices of the VIX, MoneyVest Index, and FNG Index speak too. They don't seem to quite be matching that tingly feeling we're getting, but we're close. Can't wait. Yeah, I know. It's are you referring to the Kevin voice? Yeah, I mean, we just have to collectively be more sane in this community, because I know the markets have the tendency to kind of suck you in sometimes, and in times like these where there can be a lot of euphoria and greed flying around. And so Robinhood gives a breakdown of the margin maintenance requirement. That's good. So 77%, that's actually good to see. 77% are currently in 0 to 10%. So that is incredible. Love to see that. And 12% are using 10 to 30%. 6% are using 30 to 50%. And 4% of people are currently using 50 to 100% margin at the moment. I hope it's not closer to the 100%. I hope it's closer to the 50%. But to those 10% people using over 30% of the margin, just be a bit more careful and cautious, because you never know when the markets are feeling not so generous anymore. Volatility continues to be a bit more muted, trading at just over 17 right now, so just down about almost 1%. So let's cover some stocks. Let's go over to some companies. Whatever stocks you want me to discuss, I'm happy to go over those. And we've got about another 10 minutes, 15 minutes until market opens. So let's do this. This is the portfolio right now. Got positions in BITX, Ethereum, HIMS, NVIDIA, Oscar, SoFi, Tesla. Planning to replace Ethereum with ETHU. And then also planning to add some puts on BITX, Iron, a few other names that I want to take positions in. Might even add Palantir as a potential CSP. Would have been a much better trade on Friday when it dipped like 7.5% on the Army memo. There's some security issues. Since then, it's obviously recovered really, really well. It's up like 6.5%. So that would have been a much better CSP opportunity for Palantir, but we'll be considering that as well. Okay, let's take a look at some stocks. Let's do Fubo. Let's start with Fubo, and then we'll come over to a few other names. So Webull, we already covered, Chris. We talked about that stock earlier. So if you want to go back and kind of check out my analysis on Webull and then come back, that would be great. Rito also, Bull, we covered earlier. Your thoughts on CrowdStrike for the long term. So Deb, CrowdStrike is actually part of the shopping list. I do believe it's got great potential. So I've got my buy targets and support levels in the MoneyVest platform. So you can definitely check that out if you want to. How banking finance sector will perform going forward 2025, 2026. So overall, I think when interest rates come down, financing activity starts to increase. So it's the volume that goes up, but the net interest margin starts to come down. But all in all, I think banks tend to do really well in a high interest environment and also in a low interest environment, because the activity starts to really pick up of loan origination, whether it's auto loans, mortgages, personal loans, all those kinds of stuff, right? So lending becomes a very, very profitable, very successful business during times of low interest rates. And so as a result, I do believe finance and banking will continue to perform well over the next couple of years, given that interest rates are expected to come down. But of course, if there's any changes to the interest rate projections, then of course things can change. So Fubo, Temple, Hoff, this right here is what this uptrend looks like, and I'm sure you have something similar. I am on the daily chart, so this is what the higher high and the higher low looks like. It is looking pretty attractive. I would pin down a support at 375, 376 as a pretty strong area to watch. We got a couple resistance levels here, now potentially acting as a support. And so that is the confluence of that chart, where if it bounces off of that 375, 385 level, we do have upside potential for Fubo about 20 to 22%, because we've got a resistance now back up to as much as 470. So this is one of the cleanest charts, very, very strong touch points at a couple different levels, but this is the entire uptrend right now for Fubo. So Amazon, Dan, we covered during the market updates, so definitely do watch the market update, because we covered Amazon, we cover all Magnificent 7 stocks and more. So that will give you a little bit of an update on those companies there. Going over to Synopsys, a lot of consolidation sideways. We got rejected at this resistance right here at around the 515 level, and we seem to be validating that support right about here at around 461. So very strong support there. Resistance all the way to 515. With a little bit of a gap to also fill in to the downside and to the upside for Synopsys. So we're seeing a bit of consolidation in that range at the moment. So why buy physical gold? You have to pay dealers a difference when selling and a premium when buying. Isn't it better to just buy gold in a TFSA? So Roop, yes, you're right. There are small making charges, which can be about 2 to 3%, 4 to 5%, depending on the dealer. But I do prefer something more physical, more tangible, because at the end of the day, like, really the trade in gold isn't just a trade in gold. It is something more than that. It is something bigger than that, right? It's essentially a strategy for capital preservation and being as defensive as possible, because why would so basically why are a lot of central banks and a lot of institutions are actually storing physical gold in vaults, right? Because that has tangible, real value, always, right? And gold ETFs do serve very similar purposes. I mean, they're kind of pegged against the actual physical golds that are stored away in vaults. We've done a whole analysis on this as well, but I just like the physical nature because of the fact that it's not just a bet on gold. It is really bet on the entire system, right? Which is the monetary system, which is the institutions, which are more digital. And I want to be away from that, at least from a small percentage of the portfolio standpoint. And this is really a bit of an extreme sort of view, other than the fact that it's a strategic defensive position, right? So yeah, that's that. I'm happy to pay 2 to 3% to have gold sitting in a vault. All right, so let's see. What did we miss? We covered Amazon, Synopsys, Webull, CrowdStrike. We covered that. UNH, I talked about that earlier. Mojo. So again, going back a little bit on the live stream, I discussed that as well. Again, Ryan, Iron also we discussed earlier. A lot of the stocks, we do cover them, technicals, fundamentals, either on the market updates or on the fan favorite videos. So I try to cover as many as possible, but let's take a look at DraftKings here. That's also been on a big sell-off here from its highs of $48, down over 31%. It's actually trading down to a pretty strong support. It is very, very oversold as well. And I would put down a support down to as low as just under $30 to as much as $32. So those right there are going to be a couple of support levels to watch for DraftKings. Yes, Dave, thank you so much for reminding everybody. Make sure that you drop a like. I would really appreciate that. And helps us grow the channel, get more people engaged. I would really be grateful for that. What is a CSP? It's a cash secured put. Investor thinks the stocks will go down, but still bullish overall. So it's a cash secured put. but it's not when investor thinks the stock is going to go down, but instead it is a bullish position, because if the stock goes up, that's when you actually make money by selling a cash secured put, because you get further out of the money and you don't get assigned. But in our circumstance, it's more psychological, so we allow the prices to come to us, right? So we want the price, we want to buy the stock at our desired price. And so when we do sell a put, we're comfortable with the outcome. That's the whole idea behind selling options. You want to be comfortable with all outcomes, whether it's in the money, out of the money, does not matter. You should be fine with whatever the outcome ends up being. And if you're not comfortable with the outcome, yes, you can tweak, you can roll, you can do a lot of things, but it really does benefit you if you are comfortable with the outcome. A lot of the times when the markets are this hot, investors can be like, oh, I got in the money, now I need to roll. I should not have sold the call in the first place. Well, we would not be saying that if the markets were selling off, because they act as the perfect hedge, and you are getting further out of the money if you're selling a call and you're collecting all this premium while these positions are taking time to materialize. So it is really more psychological than anything else. And I think it's really important to kind of understand that. And having that distinction between an options portfolio and a long-term portfolio, I think, can really help you over the long term. And so you're not selling calls on your long-term positions, getting in the money and selling them. And then when you're trading your options portfolio, you can precisely know that, okay, this is an options position. I'm okay selling my shares at this price for this stock. All right. Yes, gold miner stocks have been doing insanely well too. So they've been pushing higher aggressively. Do you use any particular scanner for swing trading opportunities like the triple top on Oscar? So we are testing and working through a different kind of scanner, different kind of swing trading and momentum scanner. So it's not really a scanner, but it's essentially any stock that you look at, it's going to represent like a buy and sell signal. It's going to show you this on the chart. It's going to show you sort of like this prime entry and this capital accumulation zone as well. So we are testing it, and we're going to be introducing it for everybody very, very soon. So this works really well on the weekly time frames. It doesn't matter what stock you pick. It's going to show you, like, for example, ASTS gave us a buy signal here on September 15th with the capital accumulation and the prime entry zones. And of course, since then, it's up like 113%. Similarly, again, we're just testing a lot of different stocks here, like Planet Labs, buy signal triggered September 8th. And of course, since then, it's up 127%. So we're going to continue to kind of test this indicator, and then I'll introduce it to the community. So yeah, still learning, but was close with CSPs and ASTS deal with Verizon. So as a result, pushing higher. Tesla's trading back into the 415, 445 range with consolidation around the 433 mark. Dave says, and yes, I definitely do check out Dave's analysis in our Tesla analysis channel in our Discord. Incredible work. The guy puts in so much time and so much homework to get us absolutely the best research and analysis on Tesla. So definitely check that out in our Discord if you're part of it. And ask questions, right? Definitely ask him questions about his analysis because he's on top of it. He's a teacher by profession, of course. He's going to do his own work. So Pinterest, let's take a look very quickly on Pinterest as well. And let's see, it's actually quite interesting. Pinterest is also coming down to a pretty strong support. Let me just take a look at it on this chart on the weekly. Capital accumulation sits around this $27, $28 range. So I would allow it for it to come down. There is no buy signal yet. And so I would allow it to come down to this support level around $27, $28. That is sort of like the prime entry in the capital accumulation zone. The last time we got the buy signal around that level was back on April 21st. And of course, that was a nice trade of 67%. And then we saw some capital outflows and strategic selling around that price point as well. Is Amazon ready? Let's take a look at what Amazon's showing us right now. So Amazon, a lot of consolidation. We've got a pretty strong support right about here. Down to $207, $208 No buy signal yet. Again, this, like I said, it works really well on the weekly for momentum trading and for swing trading. And right now, it's essentially consolidating sideways. So no buy signal yet. So market's about to open in about a couple minutes, everyone. And we've got S&P 500 pushing higher. We got QQQs also slightly up. We got Palantir up almost 1%. Nvidia's up almost 1%. And again, this right here is the options portfolio, up almost 4,000 on the day. 126,000 open P&L. Just crossed a new all-time high at $320,000 here for the portfolio. The goal for me for this portfolio, as I've mentioned before many times, for this specific options portfolio, is for me to get it up to $1 million and then just trade with that $1 million every single year. Whatever the return is going to be at the end of the year, I'm going to draw that out, reset it back to $1 million, and just going to trade with that. Just going to trade options, going to trade stocks from that amount, and then of course reset it back every single year. So the first goal, of course, is to get it up there, and then just reset it every single year. And of course, show you guys the progress, show you every single week over week performance, win percentages, positions, cost bases, all the trades, everything. So I think it's pretty exciting. Every single week, show you the progress. And I think this is what kind of keeps everyone motivated as a community, and everyone's doing the same thing. They're tracking their portfolio. They're, obviously seeing their progress every single week as well. And this collective effort keeps everyone motivated, inspired, and it's really also interesting when the market starts to sell off is how we uplift each other, we support each other during times of distress, because it can be pretty crazy, and that's when our therapy sessions actually begin on our Market Open live streams, is when I put on the therapy hat and I'm here talking about, hey guys, it's going to be fine. We've been here before. It's not the first or the last time we're seeing this sell-off. So those times are fun. 2022 was a good time, believe it or not. It was a good time. It was a challenging time, but it was a good time. So was 2018, although I wasn't doing as many live streams in 2018. So let's see, about a minute left. We do have Jay Powell, I believe, talking later this week. So I think tomorrow is when he's going to be talking. Let me just go to my calendar. Let's see, market calendar, high impact item. And yes, we have Jay Powell tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. I think it's going to be a very, very quick introduction and a very quick opening remark for like 5 to 10 minutes. So I don't expect that to be a market moving event, but he is going to be talking tomorrow. I'm also going to put iron in one of these because I am watching that stock carefully for any kind of opportunities to sell some puts on this stock here. All right, everyone, markets are open and we are so far looking pretty good. Most of the stocks, of course, among Magnificent 7 are green, opening higher. Silver, gold up over 1 to 2% each. Nvidia's up 1%, back up to 187. Bitcoin's up to 122.5. Netflix, Tesla, Amazon pushing higher. S&P and the Nasdaq also opening green here, slightly up. And of course, we do have the seasonality chart also available on our platform, where S&P 500 is up over 0.5% so far in October after 5 straight weeks of green as well. So we'll send out all the alerts in our Discord for any kind of CSPs that I'm considering. Thank you so much for joining. The markets are open. I'm going to spend some time in our Discord, send out updates, alerts, and we should be all set with that. We'll take a look at the options chain here as well. So hope you all have a fantastic Wednesday. Make sure that you drop a like, subscribe. Any questions, just again, message me on Discord and I'll get back to you. And as always, happy investing. I'll see you all in the next